Have you ever asked, how do I dispute items on my credit report? Welcome to Your Clear Thinking. I'm Roderick Mitchell, author of Credit Straight Talk, Clarity on the Conspiracy. This video is part of a series of videos designed to help you build a solid credit foundation. In this video, I will talk to you about how to dispute items on your credit report. The first step is to evaluate your credit reports for correctness and questionable items. I hope you have already watched the video on checking your credit reports for errors. If you have not, I suggest that you do so. I have provided a link to that video. After you have evaluated your credit reports thoroughly and decide what you want to dispute, it is time to submit a dispute to the credit bureaus about what you have found. Write a letter that includes the name, account number, and description of the error. Make your description of the error as detailed as possible, and give each error its own letter. Unless one account has multiple errors, then include all of them in the same letter. Covering more than one error in a letter will increase your chances of being flagged as frivolous. The same letter must go to each one of the credit bureaus describing the exact same thing. And by that I mean one to Experian, one to Equifax, and one to TransUnion. Before you write your letters, I suggest that you watch the video on eOscar, the credit bureau watchdog, to improve your chances of your investigation. I have included a link to it also. Submit your letters to each credit bureau, and the credit bureaus will contact the creditors that supplied your credit information to inform them to investigate that information. The credit bureaus will contact you to pass on the creditor's investigation findings and an updated copy of your credit report showing the changes if there were any. If the investigation result is what you wanted, then you're done. If you did not get the result that you wanted, you will have to repeat the process a second time with a more detailed explanation, asking for a re-investigation of your account information. It is also possible that it will take a third, more strongly worded letter to be sent to the credit bureaus, explaining that you know the credit reporting rules, offering to report them to the Federal Trade Commission immediately. Remember that the credit bureaus are only obligated to pass along the creditor's findings without an in-depth explanation unless you request the sources and methods used to perform the investigation. The sources and methods information must include the business name, address, telephone number, and a copy of the documents used for supporting facts. If the sources and methods information is not provided in its entirety in the prescribed time frame, you cannot be held accountable per the rules of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 611. I cover the topic of sources and methods in the eOscar Credit Bureau Watchdog video. Please watch it to get a clear understanding of eOscar. It is key. The Fair Credit Reporting Act is part of the Consumer Credit Protection Act, which is administered by the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC for short. The Consumer Credit Protection Act will be discussed in detail in a future video. In the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the time frame stated for investigations, responses to inquiries, and the removal of incorrect information are set tight with deadlines to prevent credit bureaus from dragging out investigations and responses for long periods of time. You are responsible for keeping good records, documenting the dates that you contacted the credit bureaus, and if they responded to you within a proper time frame. The credit bureaus often have a difficult time responding in those set time frames, which is to your advantage. But remember, you cannot expect credit bureaus to report a favorable time frame for you, which would be working against themselves, so you must keep those records. The best way to document your contact with the credit bureaus is to use the U.S. Postal Service special delivery services like registered or certified mail. The certified and registered mail services document the date, time, and the receiver of your letters at the credit bureaus. The special delivery receipts are honored by the Federal Trade Commission as proof of your information was delivered to the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus do not like to be reviewed by the Federal Trade Commission and will often give in to you because the postal receipts can prove the time frames and that the rules were violated. The Federal Trade Commission governs the credit bureaus tightly, so they are less likely to protest if they don't have a clear victory against you. The reason credit bureaus give in readily is to prevent publicity of the incident. They think it is cheaper and less hassle to remove the disputed credit information from your single credit report than to cause a newsworthy event. The risk of publicity could cause a large number of consumers to pursue the same course of action as you did. The idea is to cut the losses and keep it quiet from the general public. One small loss will not hurt, but if thousands of consumers do the same thing you did, the losses could be great. Remember that if you contact the credit bureaus by the internet, you forfeit some of your rights as a consumer. One of the rights that is given up is the right that original documents must be used to validate the creditor investigations. The original documents needed to validate the investigations are not available in its original form, but can be substituted by a digital copy because you use the internet as a means of contacting the credit bureaus. The substitution is agreed to because you use the digital medium to contact them initially. If you do not use the internet, the disputed information would have to be removed from your credit report due to the original documents not being available for proof. Because we are in a digital age and they probably don't exist anymore as paper. Another right that you forfeit is the proof of contact. The internet allows credit bureaus to report a favorable date of receipt for themselves because there is no good way to hold them accountable for when they receive that document. Remember, you should also know the statute of limitations for your state of residence concerning credit reports. The due diligence used in carefully evaluating the credit reports is critically important. Any discrepancy discovered may result in the credit item being permanently removed and restoring whatever penalty was associated with that item. In this video, I talked to you about disputing items on your credit reports. Remember to always request the sources and methods of the disputed information. Subscribe below, select the playlist, and see all the videos in this series. I'm Roderick Mitchell, author of Credit Straight Talk, Clarity on the Conspiracy. Visit my blog, yourclearthinking.com, and remember, together we rise.